This October, Overwatch 2 arrives. I'm going to give you a rundown on what to expect from the new free-to-play, team-based shooter game. There are a ton of epic heroes to play, each with their own unique abilities, personalities, and roles. Charge into battle as a guerrilla scientist, take aim as a cybernetic super soldier, or heal up your team as a rollerblading DJ. No matter what mode you play, work together to get that dub. Overwatch 2, free-to-play October 4th.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Con Report wherever you get your podcast. Watch it on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of the Empire Media Network. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you get there. Now, today, I have a special guest for you. Former Washington receiver Santana Moss, always an honest and very forthright interview. And that's why I wanted to have him on. We talk about the offense. He discusses some of what he doesn't like about what he sees offensively, including from some things he'd like to do in terms of scheme and all that. Then I asked him about the defensive backfield. He wasn't shy about expressing his dissatisfaction there in a very professional way, but he gets his point across. Moss was always an honest guy when I talked to him as a player, and he continues to be that way, even though he does work for the Commanders in parts of their communications department, but he's still an honest guy. But again, very professional. You'll learn something listening to him. So stick around for that. And in 1 or 2 minutes, I'll get you there. First, though, a couple of things. One, you can go back and check out the live stream YouTube show that Bram Weinstein and I did. Actually, it's on the podcast as well. Every Tuesday night at 7:30. So I don't think we're going to have one this next week because of the Thursday night game, but we'll be back to that after that game. But go back and listen to it. Bram and I share a lot of insight into what we think is going on and just some of your frustrations. Also, you can check out my son's college show every Thursday and Friday, leading into the college football weekend, called Between the Hashes. Give it a look. It's part of Empire Media as well on the YouTube channel. First of all, let's start with the good news for the day for the Commanders. Brian Robinson back on the field about 5 weeks after he was shot twice in a robbery/carjacking attempt in Washington, D.C. A remarkable story. It's not a surprise that he's back this week because we've seen the progress, but you look back to the beginning of this and wow, is it unbelievable that he's back here now. And he's a very fortunate kid. And I think he knows that, the team knows that. And it's nice to have be around a story where somebody in that situation, you can look back and say, he was fortunate because we know the reverse. And it with Sean Taylor, we all know that. But with Brian Robinson, thank goodness, thank God that it wasn't worse and that he was back out there today. And he looks to be in very good spirits. His teammates really were thrilled to have him back. Terry McLaurin told us that he's an inspiration to them, to him. And if you can be an inspiration to a guy like McLaurin, that says a lot. And it's not just, it was because of how he was before the injury as well. He's a guy who's very studious, asked a lot of questions in the meeting room. He also brought a lot of energy to that room. And so I think that's something that people are going to enjoy. Now, his impact on the field, we don't know how much it's going to be. We don't know when he's going to play. Ron Rivera said today that there of course is some optimism that he can play on Sunday, but there's also a chance that the Thursday game could factor into the decision as well. Would they put him out there on Sunday knowing that he'd have to play another game 4 days later? I don't know. And Rivera said he wasn't sure either. The big key is how he responds to today's practice when he goes back to the facility on Thursday, and then how the knee responds on Friday. They measure things using GPS, and so they can tell how fast he's running. They can track all that. It'll give them an idea of, is he maintaining that speed, et cetera. If he is, then they feel he's in a good spot. You can read more about Robinson with the story I wrote on ESPN.com. That's up there now, and it'll be up there when you're listening to this on Thursday. So you can go back and read that. I also have a story on Carson Wentz and some of his struggles the last couple of weeks. It's not all in him. That protection's got to help. but he also has to help himself as well. So that's it right there. A couple other key injuries. Sam Cosmi, as you know, had surgery on Ron Rivera called a finger. We had heard there was a thumb. Regardless, he's not going to play this week. He did not practice. Jahan Dotson has a hamstring injury. Ron Rivera said that he's going to miss a week or two. So obviously that would be, the best guess would be coming out of after the Bears game. And so I think that's the other one. The other one was Charles Leno sat out with a shoulder injury. It's really about maintenance for him. It's not about, is he going to play or not? He'll play, but they want to make sure that they're not putting him through unnecessary contact during some practice. When they need him to go get reps in a certain play, they'll bring him in, but they're not going to expose him to a lot of contact. Not that there's a ton of hitting in practice, but you aren't talking about, you are playing with pads on. It is physical. So there is contact. It's not game day contact. But so they want to limit that. But he was out with the shoulder injury. Curtis Samuel was not there today. There's an illness. He's expected to be fine for Sunday. That's what it sounds like. So that's it for there. Then the other day, Ron Rivera told JP Finley in their he has a weekly thing with NBC Sports, that if things don't get better, there could be some big moves. Rivera was asked about those what possible big moves there could be. Of course, if you think huge move, it's quarterback. I don't think they're at that point at all. It is still very early. And I think they'd have to really, really have soured to change something this fast with him. That Rivera and others have maintained that the more he plays in Scott Turner's system, the more comfortable he'll be, and the better it will become. So, but what other big moves could there be? Listen, one move that I'm certainly going to look at is getting Benjamin St. Juste on the field more, whether it's for William Jackson or Kendall Fuller, whatever. Get him on the field more because he's been playing the best of the corners. And then the other part of that is and I think you could see this week. You could go with a lot of 3 safety sets this week going up against Tennessee and their run-heavy attack with Derrick Henry, because 2 of the better defensive backs that they've had this year are Derek Forrest and Benjamin St. Juste. And I'd find a way to get them on the field as much as possible and limit some of those big plays that they've been giving up and just do something there. So would that be a big move? Possibly. And I definitely think that would be on the table for them because of the way St. Juste is playing. And again, get your best players in the field. Forrest and Curl are a really good combination at that with the Buffalo nickel and being able to drop both. They can kind of rotate who drops back along with McCain. They can both go up in the box and make plays. I saw Forrest do it last week. He made a couple nice stops to help against the run against Ezekiel Elliott. But again, he's playing well. Cam Curl is a good safety. McCain's been fine. But William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, they've had their issues. And how can you solve that? Anyway, we'll talk more about that later. That's it from me. You want to hear from Santana Moss because he was really good. So here's my conversation with former Washington Redskins receiver Santana Moss.
This episode is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. DirecTV Stream is your home for basketball this season because it's the best way to catch the games you won't want to miss. And with the DirecTV Stream Sports Hub, you can follow your favorite teams and track scores all in one place, which makes keeping up with the biggest plays, rivalries, and wins this season a slam dunk. So get your sports together and get your TV together at DirecTV.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
On a beautiful run through the park on a pleasant day, you can easily get lost.
No! She didn't kill him.
Huh? In your true crime podcast.
It was the pool guy. So obvious.
Whatever motivates you works for us. It's all about letting your run be your run. And Brooks is here for every runner, doing the research and sweating the details to create gear that works for you. It's your run. Brooks, run happy.
Santana, this is not the start that I think anybody was hoping for or expected. How surprised are you at what's gone on in the first 4 games?
John, I'm very surprised. I think, especially when you saw how explosive our offense looked the first week of the season, just seeing those 3 receivers being able to be utilized the way they were, knowing that we was going to have a run game, we didn't really have to lean on it then. And, just defensively, I think, when you look at it as a whole, I expected a little more from them. I can say that the defense have played to the level of expectation, but I think that with the offense lacking, it's kind of hard to sustain that. And that's why you're seeing these lopsided scores. And that's why you're seeing the defense looking like they look at times, because they rose to the occasion, but just doesn't have that other side to really come in and pick up in a point area. So I'm surprised as a whole, man. I thought a little, I'm always optimistic. So I was expecting a lot more, but hopefully, man, something happens soon,
Are you still optimistic based on what you've seen? Especially because you're right, like defensively, the last 2 games, they've kept them in the game with that may be, given what they have and given everything, they can play a little bit better, but that may be what they can do. But it was good enough to keep them in games if the offense had done anything to help out.
Yeah, I'm still optimistic. I think it's hard for me not to be a believer. I've been like that all my life. And when you believe in somebody or this team like I do, you just want to see them get around that, whatever it may be. I played this game too long to know that right now I feel like they're at its worst. It can't get no worse. That's how I look at things, So with knowing what these guys are about, something has to turn. This coaching staff has to find some kind of way to, make something work. But that's what gives me that hope and that optimism. I think just knowing that, I've been a part of seasons like this.
Right.
I can't say that I've been a part of them a lot when they started off like this, when expectations was as high as it was for this team was. But I just feel like something has to give sooner or later. And it's too much talent for me to believe that this team is going to be sitting here not playing better football.
Do you think expectations may have been a little bit too high? I mean, Carson Wentz is not, he's had one good game, a good half, and then 2 bad games. Were expectations too high, or do you still think like, no, they're just not playing well?
Yeah, I don't think expectation was too high, because if you ask me, I was kind of getting a little, pissed off from just hearing other folks always talking down on Carson. I'm one of those guys. I'm like, look, I go places and the first thing someone asks me, man, how we looking this year? And I'm like, yeah, it should be nice. Yeah, I don't know about Carson. And I don't, and so, I'm one of those guys. I'm like, okay, if you're a fan or you're rooting for this ball club, then you need to think positively. You know what I mean? You can't say that, yeah, I'm hoping us to have success, but I'm worried about this. You set yourself up for failure because you're worrying about the stuff and you kind of speaking it into existence. That's just me. I may be just one of them superstitious type of dudes, and I don't rock that way. But it's hard for me to believe someone to kind of root for a team and then talk down on a guy who's going to be, leading the ship. But I do believe, with all things said and done, when you're a new quarterback and you have new pieces, it takes time. So let me say that too. Let me pump my brakes a little bit on. I think week 1 kind of showed us that, maybe they don't need time. Maybe they, these guys are, hitting on all cylinders, and I still kind of find it hard to believe that it's not really just the skill position guys. I don't think. Right. I think offensively, our offensive line is just weak right now. And we have to find a way that we can help those guys. Maybe we might have to change the scheme. Maybe we might have to, leave 2 tight ends in the game so we can, add extra protection, for Carson. Whatever it may be, we have to find a way to combat what's going on, because it seemed to me, just watching the games, when we want to get into our style of play and spread everybody out, that's when things, go haywire. And we can't afford to do that right now. And that's a part of our offense. So to me, you have to find another way. And I think that's why these coaches get paid. You have to be able to adjust and adapt to what's going to be basically your style of play that's going to get productivity out of it.
Do you think that will be the run game? They did well last week, and that's what they had to do. But do you think they'll be able to, that they will try to sustain that?
I think it's very possible that we can lean on the run game a lot more. I do believe too that you can't have the success that we had last week and then shoot yourself in the foot by having those penalties and have to get out of that. That's what handicapped us last week. I think as soon as we got things going, penalty, and then we have a third and long, and now we have to do something that we didn't want to do, or second and long, and now we have to throw the ball. So you just want to try to find a way to have a nice balance, man. And even with that style of play that we played last week, I still feel like you can have two or three man routes. You know what I mean? You don't have to have 4 guys in a route. You don't have to have, you know what I mean? I played on teams where it was me and Cooley and Portis. If Portis wasn't running, me and Cooley was going out there, steering everything and making stuff happen. So with the talent that we have, with the weapons that we have, if you feel like we can't run our style of offense because of the rush and because of the protection that we're lacking with our offensive line, double tight, make sure that you have, that added help, and just put 2 guys in routes and then make those guys beat their man, and when all said and done, if they're not open, that running back leaks out late, same way that Dallas did us, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of ways you can do things. I'm no offensive coordinator. I just played the game. I remember some of the things that, was successful for us, but something has to change because we can't continue to be going on week after week saying the same thing.
Because Carson is new to this offense, and so there's naturally going to be a growth and a learning curve with that. You can play better while you're doing it. We know that. How much when you look at him, and it may be hard to tell without knowing exactly where he's supposed to go on every play, et cetera, but can you tell where he looks uncomfortable versus where that's just him? Like, because he had a tendency to hold the ball, but maybe he's holding it sometimes a little bit longer because you're not trusting everything you see just yet in this offense. Can is it possible to tell where he still looks uncomfortable being in a new offense?
I mean, honestly, it looks like Carson from the last few years, if you ask me. I think one of the things that stood out to me in the game against Philly, as much as people say that Carson held on to the ball long, he did. Should he have thrown the ball away quicker? Yes, he should have. But the thing that I came out of that game, pleased with, he didn't throw it into the other guy's hands. Right. So it's like he's trying to correct one thing, but then forgetting to say, hey, you're still playing football. Get rid of the ball. Because it was at times when I felt that Eagles game where we had a plan and the Eagles, we assumed the Eagles was going to kind of attack our plan a certain way. Right. And the Eagles showed us that they were, and then they backed out of it. And then it's like, we didn't have a plan after that. Right. And easily that could have been a quarterback saying, hey, screw it. This is what we call him throwing the ball. But he didn't. And he wanted to make sure he made the right decision. But you can't forget the other decisions you have to make. Okay, that's not there. Now let's make something happen. And I think that's some of the things that we had grown accustomed to seeing from Carson. Hey, when it's not there, slide into that pocket, find a way to get 2, 3, 4, 5 yards. But that might not be his game anymore. Who knows? I don't know if he's scared to do it. I don't know if he just don't want to do it. But I saw plenty of times when he could have slid and got out of that pocket in the Eagles game and had more success. Now in the Cowboys game, I didn't see that pocket or those lanes, develop. I feel like everything was pushed into his lap. Yeah. So he had to really get rid of the ball, one way or another. And half of the time it was overthrown or someone was wide open or just, not throwing to the right person. So it's hard to wrap my hand around it, man. But I just feel like as a coach and as a quarterback, they have to get into that meeting room and find something steady that they can say, okay, we can rely on this formation, this set of plays, and we can go. We can move the ball up and down the field with this. And I think our running game has shown what we can do when we get behind them. But we have to find something in our passing game that's going to make things a little simpler and attack the guys with the weapons that we have. We have too much talent on the outside for us not to have those guys being active week in and week out.
When you have a rush like last week with Dallas was doing, and Tennessee does not have that kind of a rush, but Dallas does, and you're going to face them again. A couple other teams will, and they'll probably try to pressure Carson. How easy does it make it for the defensive backfield to then basically sit on routes? Did you notice that from Dallas?
Oh, yes, most definitely, because you got to understand, this is a copycat league. It's a copycat world. So Teams are watching you and they saying, okay, this is what happened when this is what happened when this team did this. Did the ball go down the field? No. Was he able to step up in the pocket? No. So now as a defensive back, I'm sitting there anticipating that, okay, my line is going to win. But if you saw against Dallas, half of the time they might have blitzed us I don't know, no more than 5 times, if that.
Right.
It was almost barely none. It was at times I saw 6-man, up there, but then they might have backed out. 2 of them might have backed out 3-man rush. So teams are playing with that right now because they feel like we can't win regardless up front, no matter who they bring. So and that's bad. That's bad, honestly. When you can bring 3 and 4 guys and you can't win, they don't have to do nothing but now sit in coverage, and that's difficult for a quarterback to see so many guys because now you got to throw into a zone that's not there. It's no longer man coverage. It's basically all these guys sitting back into different lanes that you're trying to find an open guy in. And now that what makes a guy be able to hold on to the ball a little more because now he's like, okay, well, the guy who I wanted to go to or that lane I thought was going to be there, it's no longer there. And I can't adjust quick and go to my second and third read because I have a guy on my lap. You know what I mean? So it's just difficult, man. That's why I say, regardless of what you're doing as a quarterback, yes, we can blame Carson. He does need to shoulder or bear some of this blame. But at the same time, man, give him something more that he can see, and then we can see if he, did his job. I feel like right now it's too much of the stuff going on in front of him that we can't even judge him or grade him right on his job because that could be difficult for any quarterback in that, that situation that he's in right now. I mean, guys are literally in his lap, and it's only 3 or 4-man rush. I never saw anything like it.
And it's funny because they do lose a lot of one-on-ones up front. And I'm watching Dallas has a 6-man protection. I'm watching Cooper Rush off a play action that, was fine, but it's a 4-man rush, 6-man protection, and nobody is near Cooper Rush because and that's how you'd like to see it work more often than not here for Wentz because it gives him a chance. What about with the receivers? If you're a receiver in that situation, how frustrating does it get?
Trust me, man. I think it's hard to say because, it's not hard, but it's hard to just feel what those guys are going through right now. I just know in my years, man, I'd be so frustrated, man. I didn't know what to do. And I'm not even saying that I was frustrated because we had games like this. I was frustrated when I couldn't get the ball, when I couldn't be productive, when I couldn't go out there and do my job. So just imagining what these guys are going through right now, just knowing that they're lethal, knowing that it's a core of them. It's not just one guy. Man, they have to be livid right now. And I'm sure that they're going to be professional. I'm sure that they're going to go to work every week and just, continue to prepare, punch in. But like I said before, something has to give. Maybe we have to do a little more of that short pass game. Maybe even bring some of that stuff. See, one of the things that I watch a lot of these offenses that have success. I'm often quoting and telling people that the best offense I've ever played in was the Kyle Shanahan offense. And one of the things I found about that offense, the style, is that what we would do, we would bring everybody so tight. And now you have so much room on the outside, and we used it to our advantage. We gave you so much inside, as far as those crossing routes, sit downs over the center area, different little, over routes, different little drift routes. We gave you all that while at the same time still attacking your outside. So we made opposing teams' defense come in, then have to widen with us, and that's how you open up those lanes and find little hidden little areas that you can throw the ball in. That works so well to where I see everybody's doing it now, And when I see us spread, we wide, and then now we're not attacking those areas, but we just running everything from a wide split. It's hard to do that in this league, because now defenses already, that's traditional football. That's a regular base defense, man. We can put cover 6, cover 4, and just say, okay, put one of our backers underneath in this little area here, and now beat us. But it's not difficult. And like I said before, I'm no offensive coordinator, so I can't tell you, I'm just going off of stuff that I've seen. And so, and I ask a lot of guys who know how to break down film. One of the things I love been working with Logan Paulson, man, he breaks down film better than anybody I know in the world. Like, I'm almost looking at him and I feel discouraged at times. Like, should I know all this stuff that you know? Because he just knows so much. I'm like, bro, I played football for a long time, and you know things that I didn't learn. You know what I mean? I learned what I had to, but Nah, but it's great just watching, the things that he showed you. And I'm like, Logan, you have a point, Logan. Like and Logan brought that up to me. So that's not my idea.
I talked to him about that.
Yeah, he brought that up to me. And I'm like, you have a point. I remember this, Logan. I remember us doing that. And I remember us being successful. And I didn't know why that offense worked so well and we moved the ball so effortlessly, down the field. So when I watch our offense, it's hard to look at it at times because you're saying like, okay, we finna pass the ball, And when I was in that offense, or if I'm watching the games, when I'm watching Kyle and Matt LaFleur and I'm watching, Sean McVay and all those guys, even, Mike McDaniels, that's why they're having so much success. And yeah, I understand the Cheetah and Waddle is so lethal on the outside, but it's the way the offense runs, man. It's just the way the formations kind of keep you guessing, like not knowing what they're going to run. And like I said, I understand Scott Turner has a different offense. So That's not me to say that he needs to run this. No, I just feel that when certain things are not working, I've been a part of an offense. When I first got here in 2005, I remember this, and you can go quote me if I'm wrong, or go ask Coach Gibbs. We scrapped all our passing plays at one time. We say, Tanner, I'm going to put together everything that the other team couldn't stop who we facing. If they couldn't stop whatever was ran against them last week, we're going to take those passing plays and we're going to see if you can run it. And every week, I remember every Wednesday, I would have to come in at 6:00 in the morning. Coach Joe Bro would come in there and grab me. And he say, I got these plays, Tanner, can you run them? And, honestly, no receiver going to say no, but I honestly could run them all. And I love the fact that we was using things that can work that we saw other teams successful with instead of just trying to run our scheme. If it's not going to work, then let's just run what's going to work. And we did that the entire season. And we had that marvelous, run to the second round that could have, probably could have went a little deeper, but we didn't. And the next year we scrapped all that and went to another style of offense. And I'm like, why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? So I get discouraged as a player when I see offenses or when I see teams try to just make their stuff work. And if it's not working, it's not working, bro. It's not saying that you're not a good coach. No, it's not saying that you don't have a good scheme. It's just not working. So let's do what's worked. And let's maybe steal a little bit here, steal a little bit there. With Jason Campbell. Jason Campbell couldn't run certain things that we was running at times. So you know what we did? 2-minute offense. We didn't hurry up. We put that 2-minute style offense out there, and Jason knew every concept of the 2-minute offense. So he knew where the 2 slot guys were going to be and where the outside guy was going to be, and he knew his check down. That was simpler for him. And we ran that up and down the field when we couldn't run our offense because that was easier for Jason. And when I see things like that working, that lets you know that sometimes we can kind of make ourselves look dumb trying to run things that just is not working. And trying to say, hey, we're going to stick to the script. We're going to stick to our scheme. We're going to stick to what we have. What makes coaches great in this league or any league or at any level is how they can adapt and adjust. And I think we just have to do that a little more. Not to say that these guys aren't doing it. Like I said, I'm not in there, so I don't know what's being done. So let me say that first and foremost. I do believe in those guys. I've been saying it from day one. I like Ron. I feel like he's a great motivator. I feel like he's one of those coaches that, I hear a lot of people harping at him talking about, that they need to see more expression. They need to see more, see him ticked off a little more. I'm not a guy that's all about that. You don't have to be ticked off for me to go out there and play for you or show me that you're mad. When that's not your character, that's not your character. But I just feel like as a team, we have to find something that works for us and run that thing until the wheels fall off. Because I feel like we have too many guys that can be lethal, and we're just handicapping them right now and trying to do things that's not working.
This episode is brought to you by TBS. It's October, and that means the MLB postseason is back on TBS. You can watch the biggest and brightest in the American League take the field and battle it out for a spot in the World Series. There will be crazy hits and clutch performances, jaw-dropping action from the Division Series on October 11th, and, of course, you have to watch the crowning of the next American League champion. Catch the best of the MLB postseason all month long on TBS.
Shopify presents cool sheets from AHA to...
I suffered from the wrong kind of hot in bed, heat-induced insomnia. That was my aha moment. Bed sheets that keep you cool. Then I thought, how do I even sell bed sheets? That's when I had the idea that made it all possible, signing up on Shopify.
This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/offer22. Shopify.com/offer22.
The funny thing about those tight bunches too, it helps the run game. It sets you up for the cracks. And also the other thing is too, is when you watch other teams that put this team into stress is when they motion into a bunch. And it's a last second motion into a bunch, into a stack, and test the rules of the defense. That's another thing that helps as well.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff works. I mean, and that's like I said, like week one, when you have a guy in Curtis Samuel, when you can line him up in the backfield, running the ball with him. You can line him up in the backfield, run a pass out of the backfield with him. So you have that style of a guy or that caliber of a player that you can keep the defense guessing, move him from outside, run him to the backfield, bring in the bunch, bring him inside and do something. So that's what I mean. Like you want to see a little more creativity, just knowing that. And like I said before, if we can't do it because we can't protect, I understand.
Right.
But then now we have to find a way to protect and just run to something that's basic. You know what I mean? Hey, let's just go to some things that I saw last week that worked. Hey, we double tight, 6-man protection, and run at them and keep running at them. No more penalties, run at them. And then now guess what we're going to do? Show you that same formation. Now we're going to leak a guy to pass the ball. We can do that. And it don't have to be so hard.
Terry McLaurin, obviously people want him to get the ball more. I think really, in all honesty, they need to get the ball more to the receivers in general. But with Terry, what have you seen so far? And there have been a couple of times where I've seen where he's open, maybe not part of the progression, maybe not waiting long enough to get him, maybe just missed. But what have you seen, and what's your take on that one?
I feel like everybody else. I think Terry should be one of those guys that in that first 15, at least 3 attempts. Not hard, get them going. I was a guy, I used to tell Cal every now and then, and I hate the fact that I got a chance to play with Cal so late in my career.
Yeah. Because
after that 2010 season, that was like my last good year I had on my leg. Don't get me wrong, 2012, I was more healthier and I was lighter. I lost all that weight that I had gained from the knee injury and from some of the stuff I was going on, in my personal life. But by that time, they wanted to move me to the slot. So I wish I could have been still on the outside. I could have did more. But I said all that to say this. I used to tell those guys when I was starting, like, man, get me going. Like, just give me a hitch, give me a slip screen, give me a slant, give me something that's going to get me involved so I don't have to wait on getting involved. I think that's what I saw. We did that quick, I think it was a slip screen or something like that with Terry last week, and then we just didn't see him for a while. So I just feel with so many weapons, it's hard for Scott probably to find 3 plays for each of those guys, in the first 15. You want to run your plays. You want not to, force the issue. But I think he's just one of those guys that he finds a way to get open. He finds a way to make a play. So you got to, when things are going bad for us or we're not moving the ball, and not necessarily when it's going bad, when you have those drives, every series, and I used to hate this too because I see a lot of other receivers, Cooper Kupp, man, he's leaving games with his tongue hanging out of his mouth. That's what you want as a receiver. I feel every series, all my guys should touch the ball once. It's not hard. Every series, my running backs are going to get their carries. So I need Logan to have an attempt. I need Jahan to have an attempt, Samuels to have an attempt, and I need Terry to have an attempt. At least an attempt every series. That way now, that guy, he's not going to be sitting there feeling like they didn't come to me, or they taking too long to come to me. I'm cold out here. I'm running these routes for nothing. That's what happens to most receivers. Happened to me a ton in my career. I got to the point where I was just out there, and you sit there and you get frustrated just running the routes. And I'm sure these guys play the game like I played the game. You have more to your game than just catching the ball. You go out there and be a decoy. You go out there and setting up, blocks for your running backs and stuff like that. All that is a part of football. So guys like Terry and those guys who we have here on this team, they're not against doing that. And that's what makes them who they are. And that's what made me who I was. So that's why I was able to play so long, because I wasn't a guy when I wasn't getting the ball, I was just loafing somewhere and sitting back there looking at the sideline pissed off. I played the game. But with all that being said, you have to treat these guys. You have to know that these guys can get bored out there. So you have to find a way to get them involved. And I think that's the only thing that I see with Terry right now. He's getting open at times, but maybe that might not be the time when he's in the progression. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe that might not be the time that Carson had enough time to get to him in the progression. So we just got to find a way to keep the guy happy, man. I feel like when you pay a guy that kind of money, man, you're going to use him. You're going to make sure he's one of those guys that even with the stuff that we do with Curtis, switch it up, put Terry in that. You know, don't keep bringing the same guys in different little packages and say, okay, this is all we're going to do with Curtis. You have guys that can basically be interchangeable. I think Jahan could do that. Terry could do that. So that's another thing that stands out to me from some of the offenses that I ran or that I was in, that we kept teams guessing because we would get to the same play in a different formation, or we would get to that same route with a different player. And that's what you have to do. You have to find ways to have a defense on their heels, not on their toes, on their heels, not sure about who's going to run what route or not. Whatever you ran out of the backfield with Curtis, put Terry in that same formation. Let him do it. Maybe he might not run that route just like Curtis, but if you put him in that position, now that team has to second guess themselves, knowing that, I don't know if he's going to run the same thing that we saw Curtis do, or he's just been a decoy right now. You want them to have that kind of thought process, because now that's when you get them on their heels, and that's when you can beat them.
And again, everything is about stressing the rules of a defense to me. And that's, it's funny because a couple of times, even against the Eagles, where Terry was open or getting open, there were slower developing plays. And that's where it's like you have to get to some of those quick throws to him. And to his credit, he's like Clinton, where he blocks his ass off when he does, when he's not getting the ball. And like, that's why you give that guy that kind of money, because
that's why you reward him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Reward a guy like that.
The corner play. What have you thought?
Cornerback play?
Cornerback play.
Yeah, man. I see, I'm thinking long.
I think you're right. I think that's the answer right there.
Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like we have some talented corners. I'm all about effort, John. I'm all about effort, man. Look, everybody can't be locked down, shut down corner. So I understand that. Fred Smoot will get beat plenty of times. He'll tell you himself. But did Fred Smoot get back up and talk crap to that guy and made sure that guy second guessed it by that second or third time? Sure. And maybe Fred will play a different way and make it harder for that guy the next time. That's effort. That's will. That's showing the guy that, hey, regardless of what you got me one time, you got to do it again. I see a little of that sometimes. Like, it's like we give in. I'm not saying no names, because I'm going to be honest with you. The week before last, I feel like our corners played exceptionally well. Yes, they got beat, but guess what? All those catches was guys going over the top of them, making plays.
Right.
I can live with that all day. That's football. Somebody got to make a play.
Right.
And half of the time when you're a cornerback, if you're plastered on a guy and you can't see the ball, that guy should come down with the ball unless you just PI that guy.
Right.
And I feel like we played better against some, to me, more capable wide receivers. Even though they had a ton of yards. Well, that one guy did, Smith had a ton of yards, but we played well. This week here went back to just letting guys run up and down the field. And we can't have it, man. Honestly, I like to be critical. I'm a guy that I like to shoot it straight, because when I effed up, I'm gonna be honest with you. I effed up. If I dropped the ball, I dropped the ball. If I didn't, do something well and somebody spoke out about it, hey, they right. I got to go out there and make do with that and erase that narrative or memory out of their head so they can see who I am. I had that went on through everybody. That goes through everybody's career. Everybody who played this game going to have a game or two where they feel like they can just forget. And I hate to say it, at watching our corners, it seems like that's every week. And it's not. It's you can't play. You can't afford that play. You can't afford to have our defense playing as well as they've been playing and have that kind of lackadaisical coverage in the back end. I mean, that's hard, man. It's hard. It's tough on all those other guys. So I'm gonna be honest with you. Fuller plays his behind off. I think Fuller be put in situations sometime where we know, like, one of the things that stand out about me, I watch guys very closely. Fuller can't run with some of these guys. I know that. He knows that. You can tell it. It's something with a. You can see it. It's nothing against him because he's there every time. He's still fighting. He's still clawing. He's there. Even when I want the cornerbacks to play press and come up a little bit and challenge these receivers a little bit, I'd rather see that than see a corner 20 yards off someone and steady backing up.
Yeah,
I can run hitches all day. Give me a hitch. Give me that. You know what I mean? So I see a lot of that on one side, man, and it's just sad. And like I said, I didn't want to even call no names because I just feel like I don't have to, man. We have to play better. And I felt that St. Juice did a great job when he had to be thrown in that position.
Yeah.
And he opened the eyes of a lot of people. Because I had people calling me last week like, so why St. Juice ain't on the outside again? I'm like, no, because the guy who was hurt, he's back. But then, and I know what they was getting at.
Yeah.
But you have to have better, like I said before, we're not going to lock down everybody. These guys get paid the big bucks now on the outside because, the game has evolved to be a passing game and to let those guys on the outside do their thing. So at the cornerback position, I don't care how much money you paying them. If you're man-to-man, you should get beat because the guys on the outside that good these days. So, but if you're not disrupting that guy, if you're not up close, you don't have to be the best, jammer in the game. Just disrupt his timing enough to get the quarterback off him. If we're not doing that, it's impossible to cover the receivers in the National Football League today. And we don't do enough of that. And it's sometimes you see it on one side, you don't see it on the other side. I don't have to be on here to tell you what's going on with our cornerback. It's not good. It's not good for our defense, not good for our teams. They have to get better. And, sometimes when you're critical, a lot of times you're critical, guys get in their feelings about things. And that's why you try to be mindful because it's a different game, But what's the obvious is everybody sees it.
Right.
On film.
It's on there.
So whether you mad at somebody calling it out or not, the coaches see it, so you can't hide it.
Yep, you're right. And there, and my only thing with off coverage, it's fine, but you got to play it right. And you can't back up too much and give more cushion. You watch Dallas doing it, and they take a slight back pedal and they drive because they know what's coming. The pressure helps too, but there's a way you can play it where it's very effective. Anyway, Santana, tell people where they can find you and what you got going on.
I'm doing stuff with the Commanders throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can catch me on Command Center, me, Logan Paulson, and Jimmy Donaldson. Also, you can catch me on the podcast. We have the Players Club every week. I believe that airs on Saturdays. And then I'm doing pre and post game with MEC Sports Washington on game days. My Instagram is 8 to the 9, Facebook 8 to the 9. It's 8 to the 9 on Twitter also, but I think my last tweet was 2011, if I'm not mistaken. So don't look for me on Twitter.
There you go. Santana, you're the best, man. I always love this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you as always.
That's it for this week. Thanks to Santana for joining me, and thank you as always for listening. And I always say it, man, I really appreciate it. They're 1-3. You're frustrated as hell. So I appreciate you tuning in to still talk and listen about this team. And your interest helps me quite a bit. So I appreciate it. Anyway, that's it. I'll be back on Friday with Teron Davenport, who covers the Tennessee Titans for ESPN, as well as my keys to the game and a prediction. I'll talk to you next time.